The creative autism sprinter took the time to talk to me about autism and all that goes with it. I feel this is an interview every autistic parent needs to listen to.
You're the most powerful person in any room.
Who am I?
Hi, Jada Lopez, the founder of Autism Sprinter, but most importantly, I'm a mommy of 2 amazing boys.
The diagnosis.
And you know, most doctors, when they break something down to you, they break it down to you of the bad part. They never tell you, like, if you do all these help, if you do all these things, things are gonna get better. They kind of, I don't know if it's like a liability thing, I don't know why, but it was just like, he may not talk, he may not do this, he may not. So I'm sitting here sinking all that in.
What was his diagnosis and where was he at when he started? Because now we can say he's kind of, that word, high functioning,
and they
but
think
he
they want to
wasn't.
He wasn't. He wasn't.
Where was he at when you got the diagnosis?
He was at a place where he cried all the time. No words, no nothing. You was
at what age?
And we got the diagnosis when he was like 18 months.
Okay.
18 months. So most of the time just crying. You can put him on his little walker. He'll just sit there. It was like he was always in space. Like I'm like doing, and he'll just look at me like, why are you all in my face?
When did he start talking?
He officially began talking when he was closer to 5. I would say that once he started public school, which was a blessing and a curse at the same time, was he was around other kids. So he started developing socially. He started developing more words. And I would say by the time we officially got to kindergarten, it was just like he just started talking. But officially, I would say officially talking more than 2 to 3 words was 5. Before that, he wasn't talking. Around 2, 3, we started public school. 3 was when he started learning how to be more social. 4 is when he started learning more like me this, me that, like talking.
So vocalization didn't happen until 4.
I would say, yeah, pretty much. And that was because of the public school. Because even when he was in daycare, all he did was cry.
What you have to do.
Follow the chain of command. Deal with your child's school first. Deal with the SPED team. Then if that's not working with the SPED team, then you deal with the principal. If it's not working with the principal, then you start contacting the special education department. And then if that's not working, you're going to try to do all of that. CC'd everybody and their mother in all emails. Like, listen, I'm just looking for help. And so I feel like I wasn't getting anywhere. But the minute that I was like, I was bold, because I've always kind of shared my journey as an autism parent online. I've always been kind of vocal about that. The minute that I took it to social media, it was a wrap. It was a done deal after that. All of a sudden, people wanted to have conversations with me. People felt threatened as if I was coming for their jobs. I wasn't coming for their job. What I tried to explain to my town and how I operate is that you gotta put your feet, you gotta understand what your feet in my shoes to understand where I'm coming from. If I'm a parent and I'm reaching out to you, I'm asking for help. And then if I feel nobody's responding to me and everybody's doing, oh, well, you need to speak to so-and-so, you need to speak to but I've already done that. Who else am I going to talk to next then? You know what I mean? It bothered me. But then the minute that I went to social media, you felt the need to respond to me. That's crazy to me. So now you're worried about your image. So I felt the only reason why some people reached out to me was not because they wanted to, was because they were worried about their image. So now you're making me feel some type of way that to cover your image, your title, now you want to have a conversation with me. When it's never been about your title and what you do, it's about my child and getting the help that I wanted. And so I became a force to reckon with, or however people want to call it, when I took it to social media and started being bold and started tagging my school district on my posts or jumping in the little Facebook groups that they have and just showing statistics and just, getting kicked out of Facebook groups and all of that. You know what I'm saying? So It was when I literally took it to social media was when people were like, okay, this girl done lost her mind.
Hi, autism sprinter.
The no in-betweens, like feeling kind of like I always say, and where kind of autism sprinter evolved, because I hear a lot of people saying it's a marathon. It is a marathon, but to me, I feel like it's a sprint because you're running full speed ahead just to chase down resources as soon as possible. As soon as you hear them, you just gotta, it's like you're running, you're hitting the feet, your pavement. It's just like you're going and you're trying to be like, okay, so that's where I gotta call, let me call. And you're asking all the questions. So it's like you have to always be on your A game.
Bait my child's needs.
But to me, like for me, where I'm at right now, my stage is I'm tired of the calls from school. I'm tired of the calls from school. I'm tired of the complaining. I'm tired of them telling me, you know, oh, he's making progress, he's doing great. But then when we have an IEP meeting, it's totally different what I've been told an entire school year. So then I'm like, who am I supposed to trust? Asking you questions, not because I'm being mean or I just need to know. It's just, you know, just the ugly part for me is the constant debating with people about what my child needs.
The mob sit down.
I started reaching out to other parents that I knew who had kids with disabilities. And I reached out to them. Some of them were very cool, like, yeah, girl, this is tough. You know, here's what I did. But the reality was that they wasn't going to sit on a phone and hold my hand and bring me to all the places that I needed to get. And then I kind of felt like I was always calling them. They're busy because they have children with unique challenges. So I was like, oh man. So that's when I was like, I got to do what I got to do, or else it's just, I can't keep depending on other people to kind of coach me. And so to me, how I learned was when my son automatically started navigating public education. The challenges of IEP meetings, sitting in a room where there's like 10 folks and there's only you're feeling like it's a mob sit down. You're feeling like, oh my God, this is serious. Like I'm sitting here by myself and all these people, they're professionals and I'm just a parent. And I didn't, at that time, at the beginning, I didn't realize that I was sitting in a room and I felt like I was the smallest person in that room. And that it was always bothering me. And I'm like, I feel like this is not right. I felt like I was asking questions. Nobody understood what I was saying. And I said, okay, you know what? This is not going to work. My son still wasn't making a lot of progress. I'm sitting here like, I can't do this. This is becoming too stressful. I work for the public school system. And so I was just like, I thought I kind of knew. You know what I mean? But when the tables are turned and you're the parent sitting down at these meetings, you're just like, wow. Like this is what happens. Like
The real struggles.
After the first IEP meeting, it was just like I was confused. I just felt inferior to other people, and I was like, I can't do this. And so I decided to do the Federation for Children with Special Needs training, parent consultant training. I did that, but before we even got there, I was already just struggling physically, emotionally, and mentally, just dealing with him. He wasn't talking. All he did was cry half of the time. I started learning sign language, the more calm. I was learning all that stuff, and I was like, okay, like this is too much. I'm working full time. I got another child, and so my mental health was at risk.
Bad.
And to me, I feel like the bad part about it is the lack of friendships. I have friends, but compared to what my life used to be like before, is not what my life is like now. I'm not able to do all the birthday parties like every other families do, because I'm like, I take my kids to the birthday party, although everyone's like, oh, he's social, he must be high functioning. But in his head is so much going on that I can't get him to understand, like, okay, you need to slow down, watch out for other kids. You can't just be opening people's food stuff and then looking in and be like, this is nasty. Like, you can't do stuff like that, and he just doesn't get it. He doesn't understand that right now I'm gonna need you to just relax. Even though this is a kids party, you're too overloaded. So I don't like going to birthday parties. It's a lot. It's 6 months to a year waiting list. I feel that a lot of service providers often come into our homes, sometimes don't know the resources to give us. They don't know where to direct us. They may know what they're doing in terms of their job sometimes, but they don't know where else to redirect us when we need additional supports. Also feel the bad part about autism is you're constantly always advocating. So sometimes you have to ruffle some people's feathers. Sometimes you have to have conversations like yours, like with a service provider that you're like, listen, this is not working out. You know what I mean? And then being like, okay, now I told this person this ain't working out. Now I gotta find a new service provider, and that's gonna be another 6 months to a year. You know, and the good thing about autism is that I've learned to really understand the real meaning of empathy. I learned the real meaning of being humbled. Also learning that I'm always evolving because I'm always looking for resources. I'm always meeting other parents, learning everybody's journey and understanding that autism is not the same for everybody. And so at one point in time, you know, when I was working at a public school system, I kind of was presented by the administrator who literally told me, you know, I can't allow you to continue to leave early or miss days, you know, so you're going to have to figure something out. And mind you, not only were they on the spectrum, they were asthmatic and they were premature. They're paying union dues to a union, and nobody told me nothing. And so I'm like, all right, you know, when she said that to me, I was like, wow, I'm sitting here, sitting at ERs to 2-3 o'clock in the morning with kids that if it wasn't bronchitis, if it wasn't pneumonia, it was always something. To come home, sleep not even 2-3 hours, to come to work, and this woman is going to sit here and tell me that basically I had to pick between my job and my children. I cried that day because I was like, she's really telling me I have to pick my job or my kids. Mind you, a job that I'm already working with other people's kids. So you're going to sit here and ask me to basically pick between, I'm sorry, but I'm not picking other people's kids over my kids. In my call out, I was like, oh, and by the way, this is my 2-week notice, because I'm not going to basically pick and choose my job over my kids. And then that's when kind of like everything just completely transformed for me.
Advocacy fire.
I was always an advocate. I think that my fire lit having to navigate through autism, and that's from the resources all the way to the public school system. And it just ignited a fire in me that it was just like, once it ignited, it's just like now everywhere I go, I kind of identify myself. You know, everybody uses the word activist. I like to call myself a natural disruptor of conversation. You know, the personality that gets it done is a person who is, as I will identify it, hungry. A person who's like, wait a minute, like I can't do this. Like, this is too much. I need help. Let me find that help, and let me find the motivation to find help. I think it's all about your motivation, what the ending goal you want to see. It's just in identifying that you're the most powerful person in any room. And
Autism Sprinter
unfolded had more to do with me seeing so many things and me having endless nights where I was barely sleeping because I'm researching. I'm in my thoughts. My head is like spinning, and I'm always on my phone researching articles, and oh my goodness, and I'm trying to make this connection. And then it dawned on to me that I was putting so much energy on other things that didn't make any sense. I was identifying my child as being on a spectrum, but not understanding what the spectrum was for him. And so when I stepped back and I was like, okay, let me identify autism for him. What does autism mean for him in particular? I learned to get to know my son totally different, because the way I was dealing with him textbook smart, right? Research smart. But I wasn't dealing with him as him being just my son. And so when I learned to say, okay, let me identify his autism, let me tell you, it changed everything about how I just dealt with him and what resources I should be looking for and what things just didn't make no sense and would be a waste of insurance co-payments and all of that.
Schools?
When it comes to navigating the public school system, I would say it's a war. I identify it as a war. That's how I see it. It's either me against them or them against me. That's how I identify. I always tell parents, buckle up, because this is serious. And I also put the hat on that I worked in the public school system, and I see the disadvantages that was already happening. And so the good, bad, and ugly with the public school system is that it's free. You know what I mean? That's just the good thing. It's free. You know, it's free 99, okay? And you don't gotta pay no private tuition or anything, or be billed for your insurance or whatever the case may be. It's free, right? The bad about it is that it's constant advocacy. It's constant holding people accountable. It's constantly having stacks of paper all over the place. Documents you gotta review. You know what I mean? It's just a lot. And every year your team changes, you know, depending what grade levels. But I also think the good part about it is that if you are an active parent and you show them that you're invested, they're willing to work with you more. They're willing to give you some support. But that comes with a cost of being understanding your policies, your procedures, and your rights. If you don't know any of that, you're signing a legal document, because people got to understand an IEP and a 504 is a legal binding document. So it's like me contacting you to come and do work at my house. It's still a contract. We got a piece of paper that says, Monique, I'm gonna need you to fix my windows at this price, right? So I signed the contract that's saying that that's what you're charging me, and that's what I got to pay you. Otherwise, I can prove that you didn't do the work right, or whatever the case may be. You know, whatever. It's still a legal binding contract. And so, understanding that you're the most powerful person in that room or in that space, because you are your child's voice. When you don't have proven data. When you don't have proven data. When you're attending these IEP meetings and people are telling you your child is making progress, we're doing this, but if nobody can physically show you paperwork or show you data that what they did 6 months ago is actually working, and your child is still in the same place, then it's time for you to say, hey, listen, I don't think you guys have the services that I need. And out of the district placement is not as easy to attain, because this means years of either broken promises, violations to policies and procedures, violations to IEPs. It's like years worth of things that you have to prove as a parent that was not working, and violations on the school system's end. And so to fight for an out of the district placement, make sure you got your documentation game ready. And that means keeping everything, knowing what you're signing. And if you don't know what you're signing, or you're unclear, you better send them emails and keep a paper trail.
Relationship resentments.
Resentment. I resent being the parent who's sitting at the hospital with the kids when they were sick all the time. I resent the fact that I'm the one that's always making the school meetings and having to advocate for my child all the time. I resent the fact that I had to put my career on hold to not making nowhere near the amount of money that I was making before to become the parent that I am today. the one that only works a certain amount of hours a week because I want to be able to make sure that I can do things like this with my children, make sure that I'm actually at home to do homework and I'm not barking and just screaming all the time, you know what I mean? And it strains your relationship, because I think that emotionally, physically, you're not there. The intimacy ain't there. You start looking at each other different. You know what I mean? And I know for me, it's just, I think for me, the biggest thing is I resent.